I'm Catherine Ross, and I'm here live from the NYC with Jim Cramer. Jim, what's on the top of your mind?
Your birthday! Happy birthday to you!
Thank you.
And you're what, 22?
25.
Oh, well, you know, everybody loves you, so that's true. You had a great interview this morning.
I did with Lolo Jones. I can't wait to post it.
Well, I think it's going to be terrific, and they're doing some CBD.
Yeah, she's with CBD MD.
And remember, Constellation Brands reports this week, and I hope that they give a talk a little more about why they fired Bruce Linton and Canopy. And by the way, the hottest thing in the world is that, is Spike Seltzer. So let's see if they talk about that. But happy birthday. Many happy returns.
Thank you, thank you.
And thank you for your wonderful piece about 1 year later. You and I have been working together for a year, and there's some really nice things that you say, and after we talk about stocks, I want to go over that with you.
All right, I'm totally game for that. So let's get to the stocks
first.
Sure.
I have a piece this morning in Real Money about whether you can trust the semiconductor rally. And the answer is you can't if Micron doesn't go higher, because Micron brought those down. Now, they can all go up on some research, like there was a upgrade for analog devices. There's a very mixed, convoluted piece from Key about some of these stocks. But just watch Micron. It brought them all down. And you need it to go up or stabilize. They have big buyback. That's what I wrote about in Real Money, because that is key. The other thing that's top of mind, oh my, he's getting rid of commissions.
Charles Schwab is.
Schwab has a huge asset base. Maybe they can afford to do it, but Ameritrade, they make money on these companies make a lot of money on commissions, and I don't know how can. I wonder how much of this is Robinhood.
Thank you for saying that, because my exact question to you was going to be, is this the cause of Robinhood, and what can companies do now?
When I speak to millennials, and I do that constantly because it's so important. Thank you for making me understand the different mindset that millennials have. Millennials like free, and Robinhood is free, and I was fortunate enough to have the guys from Robinhood. I had to tell you, when I was talking to them, I said, geez, I should just quit my job and open one of these. But I like my job. But yeah, a free with you make the money on credit balance. Now, the rates are so low right now, you won't. But, they're low enough. They're still high enough that you can make money. So I'm watching what is basically Black Monday for the brokerage houses. For the ones that rely on Ameritrade, and Schwab's down a lot, E-Trade, and I just have to marvel how no one saw this coming. And I think it's Robinhood. I don't have enough information to say that, but that's what I think it is.
I want to circle back to Micron, because Micron is Real Money stock of the day, and as you said, you wrote a column on it. You said at the very end, I was a little surprised to read this, you said Micron is the most important stock in this market. Why is that?
Well, because of where it end markets. See, you can say NVIDIA, but that's gaming and data center. You can say NXP because that's electronic cars. You could say Intel because that's PC. But Micron is all devices, every device. And Morotra really killed it. You know what it reminds me of? Ulta Beauty. Ulta Beauty pulled the plug. Stock went down 100 points, and now we have insider buying. Charles Heilbrunn bought a ton. He's a director. He's from Chanel family. He manages Chanel money, and yes, we got some. I don't want to say a big buy from Sally, but from the CEO. But Mary Dillon. But I have to tell you, the fact that Mary bought some matters. You have two insider buyers. Ulta's bottoming. I'd love to see insider buying, or at least that Micron's back. I'm postulating that Micron's buyback is going to be in there, because Sanjay did say that there's low 40s. And if you see that, remember that's also got China. Oh my! It's every single hot button. And it's far more important than even what my dog, NVIDIA, is doing. By the way, my dog is a beneficiary of cannabis. He's been able to jump since we've been using cannabis. And isn't that part of what you were talking about with cannabis, the cannabis company for Lola, right?
Yep, CBD MD, and why she's taking it and how it's helping her as an athlete. It's fascinating to see how a substance that was once banned is now a big... it's so important for athletes.
I know Dr. Gottlieb is former head of the FDA, has said that there's too many, that people are just making, let's just say, it's being used in too many ways that it shouldn't. I think it's very controversial. I use CBD for two things, and this is no THC. I use CBD from hemp. Thank you, Senator McConnell. I use it for muscle pull rather than icy hot. I switched from icy hot to that. and I use it for migraine. And I am the chief spokesperson for the American Migraine Foundation, and I regard it as just fantastic. Oh, I should also add a couple drops under the tongue if you can't fall asleep, and I promise you'll be asleep very quickly, versus Klonopin, versus Xanax. This is non-addictive. Remember, CBD, the alternative is often a prescription drug that is addictive. So I don't know how anybody could. My late father always used to say, "Hey, you're going to get addicted to pot." Well, I mean, I'm using these things instead of Lunesta, instead of Xanax, instead of Klonopin, instead of opioids. Not that I would take opioids, but for pain. And I do think that the CBD companies doesn't necessarily mean that they're good investments, but I do think that that when the American Migraine Foundation lets me talk about the CBD that I rub into my head because my migraine's right here, I find it just terrific that they're willing to open their minds and know that CBD is so important. I am sure there are uses that there shouldn't be, but for me, it's been remarkable. That's why I'm always, people say, Jim, you're so pro cannabis. I want cannabis to win. The stocks themselves have been very hard to own. All hard to own.
So, Jim, I want to go back to China for a second because today is China's 70th anniversary as a communist country. Now, we saw Donald Trump tweeted at President Xi saying congratulations.
I can't think of, given the importance of face saving, that was I thought that was overlooked. I thought that was actually amazing because this is a country that was our sworn enemy until Nixon began ping pong diplomacy with Kissinger, and then we had a long arc where we ended up being friends, and then we are no longer friends, and yet he still wished a happy 70th to a communist country, and I think it's interesting. Meanwhile, by the way, the market's coming down, which is what I expected. Because there's just not enough good news. We don't have a deal in trade. And
does this show? Does Donald Trump's tweet show that the trade talks are softening?
I know that there's big talks coming up, but this market, you seem to have a lot of sellers coming in. Maybe it's related to the beginning of October. We're no longer overbought. We buy a new name for Action Alerts because we have so much cash and just raise some more cash. But we're still net out and taking money out. We're just still waiting for levels. We're getting some good levels to start to buy. But like I said, Micron is the key, and I'm not going to trade NVIDIA or anything like that, but UNH. But be aware that there are a lot of stocks that have I was talking about this with Carl and David. We've had one of the best runs so far in the S&P, but the leadership is spotty. It's led by a company like Con Ed that I have on tonight.
So, Jim, let's switch gears. Let's talk about bull market fantasy because we've got a live show at 10:45 a.m. Eastern.
We do.
But last night I saw an interesting tweet. Now you have a Cramer challenge going on. You want to break down what that is? Yeah,
we can be 3 and 3. You're going to be up against me. I have the ability to pick the best running back, best wide receiver, tight end. And we're doing some challenges, and I think that it's going to be challenging to beat me because I'm the best.
Got those Cowboys.
Because I'm the best.
Because you got those Cowboys.
I have Zeke. Now Zeke let me down. He only got me 16. Dalvin didn't break 20, but John Malloy, whom I love, he works at CNBC. I don't love him. He's played against me, but he had Connor, and I won by seven ticks. Because Connor, they sat him in the end, which was really fabulous for me. And I am enthralled with fantasy, and I think everyone should watch the show. We do a show Tuesday, and we do a show Thursday. And we help you with your lineup better than any show. I mean, this is not a show, by the way, where we say, listen, if you have Julio Jones, I would play him this week. It's not like that, okay? We come up with players you never heard of, and they're in your lineup. And by the way, we also said, Godwin. We put it out, we said, listen, you got to play Godwin. Now, Godwin went off. He had 41. Now, a lot of people are thinking he's questionable. He might not be worth playing. We're going to talk about Devontae. The show is like no other fantasy show. It is not about the obvious. And we try to bring in mavens from all different teams. We have an Atlanta Falcon maven. The Falcons defense is so bad, and I'm up against DeAndre Hopkins, and I think, well, he's going to go off. Now, again, the obvious show says, hey, if you have DeAndre Hopkins, because they're up against Atlanta, you might want to play. Not our show.
Yep. And so if you guys are interested in the Cramer Challenge, head on over to bullmarketfantasy.com and click on the Cramer Challenge article and leave your comments as to why we should pick you.
Why would anyone enter a challenge where they're going to lose?
Ooh, those are some big talking. You guys got to go up against him.
I would never enter that challenge because, I'll call you a loser. Like, hey, you're a loser. But, it's around. It's an oblong ball, Maybe.
Head on. You guys got to head on over. You got to knock him down a peg here.
I know it's not as easy to register as I'd like. We're going to fix that, okay?
All right, Jim.
I'm sorry. I like to have it. Jimmy from Anywhere, who's one of my guys who does the line, I can't bet, was saying it's too hard to set up. So Jimmy from Anywhere, I'm going to do what I can. That's his nickname.
All right, so Jim.
It's like Jimmy the Greek, but he's from Anywhere.
As you said at the top of the show, it is our 1-year anniversary working together, and I did write a column over on TheStreet.com that you guys can read about what I've learned from Jim in the past year.
And you say, don't ask a question you don't know the answer, because I am, I'm not very forgiving to people who don't, right? If you're going to seek because I want homework before you even come to me. This is a long-standing view when I was at my hedge fund. If you wanted to work for my hedge fund, you had to come at 4 o'clock. I was 30 pounds heavier. You had to bring me a box of Krispy Kremes, and you had to name 5 stocks that you thought were going to go up. And if the 5 went up, I'd invite you back in a week. But you had to be at 4 a.m. If you came in at 4:01, the hell with you. Okay, so speak up when you feel the need to. This is from my mom. My mom always said that if you don't speak up in the world, who will for you? And thank you for talking about impact per share. But that's something that you've done because you taught me generationally, don't just care about earnings. Things are bigger than that. And I'm so glad you talked about sustainability and how I've tried to become something more than a dollar sign represented by a man. A lot of that is because my daughter Cece has been, let's just say, is trying to get me to be much more relevant and then be kind. A lot of people think I'm not kind because I bark. My barks were, certainly versus my bite. But thank you for mentioning. We had very nice people here this morning from Cannabis Company, and I like to be gracious. CBDMD. But my mom taught me to be gracious, and you have to be gracious to everybody. Okay. By the way, I have to ask you, how much harder is it to be nice than mean? Think about that. The answer
is not that much harder.
It's not that much harder. And, if you're not great, let the other person be mean, but you always must be gracious. The 4 Agreements, by the way, is a great book, and that teaches you, again, about being true to your word. And if someone says something bad to you, remember, it's their fault, not yours, as long as you're gracious.
All right, Jim, I'm excited to go see what we got over on Action Alerts Plus. So for you guys watching on TheStreet.com or on Facebook Live, we are now heading over to our Action Alerts Plus Daily Rundown show on ActionAlertsPlus.com. I'm Catherine Ross, and we'll see you tomorrow.